You're about to see a old BMW go from complete dead silence to turning over for the first time in years. So here's a little recap of what we've done so far. We've removed the old engine, we bought a replacement engine, we sent that engine off to get rebuilt, we then received that engine, we then went on to painting the block to make it look good and started piecing it together bit by bit. And that's where we are now. So the next thing we need to do is get the gearbox onto the engine. But before we do that, we give the gearbox a bit of a clean. Right guys, we've just given the gearbox a quick clean. I'm not going crazy with it because it's under the car, you don't even see it. I've given it a good degrease though and a proper clean up, just get all that grease off it. We are now gonna mate it up to the engine. Obviously before we do that, we're gonna put the torque converter into the gearbox, make sure it's seated properly onto the pump, and then we're gonna marry it up to the engine and put a few bolts in. And then once that's done, we can then put the engine and the gearbox together into the car.
Married Trishul and this gearbox. You can get it in.
Yeah, you guys have got the lowdown on my life now as well. Cool, let's get it. So unfortunately, we lost a bit of footage where we put the torque converter into the gearbox and then bolted the gearbox up to the engine. However, we swiftly moved on to getting this engine into the engine bay on this same day because we were so determined to get this done. So here's a bit of a time lapse of us putting this engine into the engine bay. There was a lot of adjustment that we needed to do just to line this engine up into the engine bay. And as the sun started to set, we were getting more and more determined just to seat this engine down onto its engine mounts. And check this out. It was a right graft trying to get this engine to line up to the engine mounts, but we kept pushing, we kept adjusting, and eventually this is what happened.
Right there. Easy bit as well. Oh,
yeah! Oh man.
Oh god.
So at this point it was pretty late in the night and we were satisfied that we could at least seat the engine onto its engine mounts. We are here on the next day now, just piecing things onto the engine while it's in the engine bay now. So plumbing up all of the coolant pipes behind the engine, starting to get things like the throttle body connected, the fuel lines connected, anything associated for getting this engine running was our goal here. So we just kept chipping away at it bit by bit with the goal to get this engine running. So while this time lapse is running, I'd like to share a little challenge that we set up for ourselves. So at this point, we are literally 6 days away from the BMW 7 event that ATB is hosting, along with Matt Bavaria and a few others. So the whole idea was that we had 7 days before the 7 event to fit this engine into the car, have it running up to temperature, working as a normal car so that we can drive it to the 7 event. Yep, a bit of a challenge for people like us who work full-time jobs and only have the evenings and weekends to work on something like this. And then on top of that, making sure that all the parts and all the things that we need are here in place. As you know, something like this is super challenging, especially making sure that you have the right parts, being an old BMW, and making sure that you're organized enough to have all the things that you need so that something like this goes as smoothly as possible. Of course, there's always going to be something that gets in the way of progress, And for us, we had multiple things. For example, we had a part that was completely different from the B32 to this B34, and that was the distributor shaft that goes into the camshaft. The one that was meant to come with the engine was missing, and the one from the B32 just did not fit. Luckily for us, we had our good friend Indy, who builds old BMW engines and turbo boosts them, so he has lots and lots of parts just lying around, and he came through a lot with this build. Every step of the way, if we ever hit a hurdle or hit a brick wall, he'd be on the phone, he'd guide us, he'd push us in the right direction and made sure that we were doing the right thing. We would just like to say a big thank you to Indy from all of us at All Things Bavarian for all of your help, all of your support, and being there for us during the time of putting this engine into the E23. So here we are trying to get this engine into the E23 and make it roadworthy so that we can drive it to the 7 event. Bearing in mind, none of us are professional mechanics at all. We are self-taught, we have basic tools, and we are doing the best we can to work with what we have. So what do you guys think? Do you think we can do this? Well, you will find out eventually. Right, I know I've been doing a lot of time lapses, however, here's a little update of what we've done so far. So obviously the engine is in. We have put the starter motor in, we've put the alternator, the pulleys, the power steering pump, and we have also connected the downpipe underneath the car and the prop shaft from underneath the car as well. And then we've just started to lay out the engine loom, and it's just piecing bits and pieces back together onto the car, onto the engine, making sure that wiring is all routed correctly and making sure all the coolant pipes and things like that are connected. So yeah, that's just a little update of where we're at the minute. We're hoping, fingers crossed, today we have first start, so let's hope for the best. Hopefully today we can get car connected and up and running. All we got to do is a case of connecting fuel, connecting wiring, all the little bits and pieces to get this car running, dizzy cap, distributor, things like that. So yeah, just a little update of where we're at, and we're getting there slowly. So we crack on making sure that we are putting the wiring loom in the right place and connecting all the bits up that we need so that we can turn this engine over for the first time. Our main ambition here is so that we can turn the engine over and see if the top end is getting oil pressure. We are taking all the necessary steps to make sure that we can make this happen. So we're putting our new oil filter in, we're putting fresh oil into the engine. We are then taking the rocker cover off in prep to turn the engine over and see if we get oil fed to the top of the engine. So here goes nothing. Okay, yeah, it's building some pressure, but I can see there's a bit of crappy oil coming through.
Because you probably left some at the bottom of that thing.
Yeah. So clearly there's oil getting to the top of the engine and there is oil pressure. This has given us confidence to put more parts onto the engine so that we can potentially fire this thing up. Guys, we are at the stage of potentially turning this car over and it firing up. Let's see, fingers crossed. We've turned it over already just to check that there's oil pressure and oil coming up to the top, which it is. But in essence, I just wanted to see if it fires up under its own steam. We've got fuel, we've got air, obviously. Spark plugs are in, coil pack is on, distributor cap's on. So this should, in essence, give us a start. So, and also the crank sensor is on as well down here. So yeah, let's give it a go. Let's see if it starts up. We've got everything in place so far for it to go whoom. And so we tried and tried and tried, and nothing was working. So this is where we're at the moment. The engine turns over, which is great. It kind of starts up for a few seconds, but doesn't want to stay on. Now, there's multiple reasons why this could be. As you can see, not all the parts are on the engine. Throttle body is the incorrect one. The mass airflow is missing. There's a few electrical connectors not connected, and there are a few other bits and pieces that are not buttoned up on the engine yet. So the next steps that we are going to take is start putting more and more parts onto the engine just to get it complete and just to make sure all the connections are in. Once that's done, it gets the engine to a better stage and gives us a better chance of actually starting the engine. Unfortunately, we're going to have to stop the video here. However, be sure to subscribe, because in the next episode, you'll find out whether we have this engine up and running and ready to take to the 7 event. And I'd just like to say thank you for watching this video. We hope you enjoyed it, and we hope to see you on the next one.